Ever wonder why those sugar cravings just won't quit? It's not just about your sweet tooth. There are hidden habits keeping your body on a sweet roller coaster. Discover the surprising triggers behind these cravings and learn how to break free for better health and balance. Top habits that lead to constant sugar cravings. So, when we try to unravel the mystery behind why you might constantly crave sugar, it often leads us to take a good look at our daily routines and what we're eating. It's interesting because many common habits, which might seem harmless by themselves, can actually team up to create a powerful cycle of wanting sugar. Now, for those of you focused on keeping your blood sugar levels stable, figuring out and understanding these habits is the very first empowering step towards getting back in control and promoting better health. So, let's dive in and explore some of the most significant lifestyle patterns that can unknowingly fuel those persistent sugar cravings, making it tougher to stick to a diabetes-friendly eating plan. Number 1, regular consumption of highly processed foods. Regular consumption of highly processed foods really stands as a primary instigator of those persistent sugar cravings. We're talking about products ranging from packaged snacks and sugary cereals to ready-made meals and fast food, which are typically just laden with refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and a whole array of artificial additives. The allure of these foods? Well, it often lies in their convenience and their engineered taste, which is specifically designed to be hyper-palatable. That means they stimulate our brain's reward centers really intensely. And this intense stimulation can lead to a desire for more of the same, creating a difficult cycle to break. The problem gets even bigger because many processed items contain what we call hidden sugars. These aren't just the obvious sugars you find in sweets, but also those disguised under various names in the ingredient lists of savory foods like sauces, bread, and even salad dressings. When you consume these foods, your body experiences a rapid spike in blood glucose. Then, your system has to work overtime, releasing a surge of insulin to try and manage this sugar overload. This quick, sharp rise is often followed by an equally rapid crash in blood sugar levels. And it's this crash that often triggers intense cravings for more sugar, as your body signals a need for a quick energy source to bring those levels back up. Now, for individuals with diabetes or prediabetes, this roller coaster effect is particularly detrimental. It makes blood sugar management far more challenging and can actually contribute to insulin resistance over time. The refined carbohydrates, which are abundant in processed foods, are quickly broken down into glucose, offering very little in terms of sustained energy or nutritional value, like fiber, which would normally help slow down sugar absorption. The lack of feeling full from these foods means you might feel hungry again soon after eating, often with a specific yearning for something sweet to combat that post-crash slump, and this just keeps the craving cycle going. Number 2, skipping meals or irregular eating patterns. Next up, skipping meals or sticking to irregular eating patterns can significantly disrupt your body's natural hunger and energy regulation, and this frequently leads to strong sugar cravings. You see, when you miss a meal or go for extended periods without eating, your blood sugar levels can drop considerably. This dip signals to your brain that it needs a quick source of fuel, and sugary foods or drinks often seem like the fastest solution to raise blood glucose and get rid of those feelings of fatigue, irritability, or lightheadedness. This is really a primal survival response, but in our modern food environment, it often leads us to make poor choices. For people managing diabetes or prediabetes, maintaining stable blood sugar levels throughout the day is absolutely paramount. Irregular eating directly undermines this goal. The body really thrives on consistency, and when it doesn't receive a steady supply of nutrients, it can trigger a stress response. This, in turn, can increase the desire for high-calorie, high-sugar, comfort foods. And this isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a physiological reaction to what the body perceives as energy deprivation. What's more, when you finally do eat after a long break, you might find yourself excessively hungry. This state of extreme hunger, sometimes called primal hunger, makes it much harder to make mindful, healthy food choices. The urgent need for energy can easily override your best intentions to eat well, making sugary, quickly digestible options seem far more appealing than a balanced meal that takes time to prepare and consume. So, establishing a routine of regular, balanced meals and snacks helps to keep blood sugar levels more even, thereby reducing the likelihood of these intense, craving-inducing crashes and supporting overall diabetes management. Number 3, emotional or stress eating. Another significant habit is emotional or stress eating, which frequently leads to an increased desire for sugary foods. When faced with difficult emotions such as stress, anxiety, sadness, boredom, or even loneliness, many of us turn to food for comfort. Sugary treats, in particular, are often sought after because they can trigger a temporary release of mood-boosting neurotransmitters, like dopamine in the brain. This creates a fleeting sense of pleasure or relief, making sugar a go-to coping mechanism. You know, the connection between emotions and eating can become deeply ingrained over time. If you repeatedly use sugary foods to soothe yourself during stressful times, your brain begins to associate these foods with emotional comfort. This learned association can then trigger cravings for sugar whenever challenging feelings arise, even if you're not physically hungry. It becomes a conditioned response, where the emotion itself acts as a cue to seek out those sweet rewards. This cycle can be particularly difficult for individuals with diabetes to navigate, as the sugary foods chosen during emotional eating episodes can cause significant spikes in blood sugar levels, complicating their management efforts. Furthermore, it's interesting to note that the stress hormone cortisol can directly increase appetite and cravings for sugary and fatty foods. So, chronic stress keeps cortisol levels elevated, which can lead to a persistent desire for these types of comfort foods. The temporary mood lift you get from sugar is quickly followed by a crash, often leaving you feeling worse than before and potentially triggering another cycle of emotional eating. Recognizing this pattern is really the first step towards developing healthier coping strategies for managing emotions that don't involve relying on sugar as a crutch. Number 4, using sweets as rewards. Let's talk about using sweets as rewards. This habit can significantly contribute to persistent sugar cravings. When sugary foods are consistently used to celebrate achievements, mark special occasions, or even as a little pick-me-up after a tough day, our brains forge a strong association between these treats and positive feelings or a sense of accomplishment. This conditioning means that over time, you might find yourself craving sugary items not because you're hungry, but because you're seeking that associated feeling of pleasure, comfort, or self-congratulation. This pattern often begins in childhood, where sweets are frequently given as prizes or treats for good behavior, and it can definitely carry through into adulthood. That "I deserve this" mentality when reaching for a sugary snack after a challenging task or a minor success just reinforces the idea that sugar is an appropriate and desirable reward. This can make it incredibly difficult to separate the emotional satisfaction derived from the reward system from the physical act of consuming sugar, leading to cravings whenever a situation arises that you subconsciously feel warrants a treat. Now, for individuals managing diabetes or prediabetes, this habit poses a unique challenge. While it's important to acknowledge and celebrate successes, relying on sugary rewards can disrupt blood sugar control and work against health goals. The frequent consumption of these high sugar items contributes to that cycle of blood sugar spikes and crashes, which can further intensify cravings. Finding alternative, non-food-related ways to reward oneself is crucial for breaking this habit and fostering a healthier relationship with food. Ensuring that treats are enjoyed mindfully rather than as an emotional or habitual response. Number 5, relying on refined carbohydrates. Another major habit that fuels constant sugar cravings is a diet that heavily relies on refined carbohydrates. These are things like white bread, white pasta, pastries, mini breakfast cereals, and sugary drinks. They're processed in a way that strips away most of their fiber and nutrients. As a result, they are digested very quickly by the body, leading to a rapid conversion into glucose and a subsequent surge in blood sugar levels. This quick spike in blood sugar prompts a significant release of insulin to help shuttle the glucose out of the bloodstream and into cells. However, this swift and often excessive insulin response can cause blood sugar levels to drop just as rapidly, sometimes falling below normal levels. This condition, known as reactive hypoglycemia, often shows up as fatigue, irritability, shakiness, and, very importantly, intense cravings for more sugary foods or refined carbohydrates to quickly bring blood sugar back up. It really is a vicious cycle. The very foods you eat to satisfy a craving are actually setting you up for the next one. For those with diabetes or prediabetes, this pattern is particularly problematic as it makes it even harder to maintain stable blood glucose. The lack of fiber in refined carbohydrates means there's nothing to slow down the absorption of sugar, leading to these dramatic peaks and troughs. Prioritizing whole, unprocessed carbohydrates, like whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, which are rich in fiber, can help stabilize blood sugar levels, provide sustained energy, and reduce the likelihood of experiencing these craving-inducing crashes. This, in turn, supports better overall glycemic control. Number 6, keeping sweets easily accessible. The simple habit of keeping sweets and sugary snacks readily accessible can significantly amplify sugar cravings and lead to more frequent indulgence. You know, the principle of out of sight, out of mind holds a lot of truth when it comes to managing temptations. If your home or workplace is stocked with biscuits, chocolates, sugary drinks, or other sweet treats, they serve as constant visual cues that can trigger a desire for them, even when you're not genuinely hungry. This easy access removes many of the small barriers that might otherwise prevent you from consuming sugar. Think about it. If you have to go out of your way to get a sweet treat, you have more time to pause and consider whether you truly want or need it. However, when sugary options are just an arm's reach away, maybe in your desk drawer, on the kitchen counter, or in the pantry, it requires much more willpower to resist. This constant exposure can wear down your resolve, especially during moments of stress, boredom, or fatigue when cravings are often stronger. So, for individuals focused on managing their blood sugar, like those with diabetes, creating an environment that supports healthy choices is absolutely crucial. By not purchasing sugary snacks or by storing them in inconvenient, out of the way places, you reduce the number of triggers you encounter daily. This proactive step can significantly lessen the frequency and intensity of sugar cravings, making it easier to stick to a diabetes-friendly eating plan and make more mindful food choices that support your health goals, rather than having to rely solely on willpower in the face of constant temptation. Number 7, overexposure to artificial sweeteners. Here's an interesting one: overexposure to artificial sweeteners. While often turned to as a healthier alternative to sugar, for some individuals, it can paradoxically contribute to or even intensify sugar cravings. These non-nutritive sweeteners are many times sweeter than regular sugar, and their intense sweetness can actually recalibrate your taste preferences over time. What this means is that, naturally, sweet foods, like fruits, may start to seem less sweet and less appealing, while the desire for intensely sweet tastes, including those from actual sugar, might increase. Furthermore, there's ongoing research into how artificial sweeteners affect our body's metabolic responses and our gut microbiome. Some studies suggest that when you consume something that tastes sweet but doesn't provide the expected calories or glucose, it might confuse the body's natural ability to regulate hunger and satiety based on sweet taste. This disconnect could potentially lead to an increased appetite or a stronger craving for actual sugar to satisfy that sweet signal that didn't deliver any energy. Essentially, the brain expects calories when it tastes sweetness, and when they don't arrive, it might just keep signaling for them. For people managing diabetes, it's important to be mindful of the overall impact of their dietary choices. While artificial sweeteners can be a tool for reducing sugar intake, relying heavily on them might not be the ideal long-term solution for managing cravings or taste preferences. Focusing on reducing overall sweetness in the diet, whether it comes from sugar or artificial sources, and retraining the palate to appreciate more subtle, natural flavors can be a more effective strategy for breaking the cycle of intense, sweet cravings and supporting better blood sugar management. Other factors that amplify sugar cravings. Now, beyond these primary habits we've discussed, several other factors can act as amplifiers, making sugar cravings even more intense or frequent. For instance, chronic lack of sleep is a significant contributor. When you're sleep deprived, levels of ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, increase, while leptin, the satiety hormone, decreases. This can lead to an increased appetite and often specific cravings for high-energy, sugary foods. Dehydration can also sometimes be mistaken for hunger or sugar cravings. So, before reaching for a sweet snack, it's a good idea to try drinking a glass of water, as mild dehydration can sometimes show up as a desire for a quick energy boost. Also, certain medications, though essential for health, may have side effects that include changes in appetite or cravings. If you suspect this might be the case for you, a discussion with your healthcare provider is really important. Furthermore, an imbalance in gut bacteria can influence food preferences and cravings, which just highlights the importance of a diet rich in fiber and whole foods to support a healthy microbiome. How to break the cycle: healthier alternatives and habits. So, how can we break free from the grip of constant sugar cravings? Well, it really involves consciously replacing those unhealthy habits with healthier alternatives. A great way to start is by prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. These foods provide sustained energy and nutrients, which helps to stabilize blood sugar levels. Also, make sure you're drinking plenty of water throughout the day, as dehydration, as we mentioned, can sometimes be misinterpreted as a sugar craving. Mindful eating practices can also be incredibly beneficial. This means paying attention to your body's hunger and fullness cues, and eating slowly, really savoring your food. This can help you recognize when you're eating out of habit or emotion rather than true physical hunger. And instead of using sugary treats as a reward, try to find non-food related ways to celebrate or de-stress, such as going for a walk, listening to music, or engaging in a hobby you enjoy. Gradually reducing the amount of sugar and artificial sweeteners in your diet can also help reset your taste buds, making overly sweet foods less appealing over time and allowing you to appreciate natural flavors more. To wrap things up, persistent sugar cravings are often a signal from your body, and they're typically influenced by our daily habits rather than just a lack of willpower. Recognizing these patterns, from eating processed foods to emotional eating, is the first empowering step towards making positive changes for better blood sugar management and overall well-being. If you found this information helpful, please do share it with others who might benefit. We also warmly invite you to ask any questions you might have or share your own experiences in the comments section below.